just maybe your quick overview on it, and we can throw it to the Matt's plural if you want. And just your overall thoughts with a few days to sit back and see where you were, and then you can take a couple questions.
Yeah, thank you. I think mostly just proud of the season that we put together. In terms of best, I haven't thought of that much, but for sure, I'd say making the Frozen Four is the best season that I've had here statistically and things like that. And also the group, we had a great group, great leadership. Really, I think COVID brought us closer together with all the weird things that we had to go through, the sacrifices that we made. And it was the silver lining was really the closeness of this group and the commitment that we all showed each other in what we wanted this season to be. So incredibly proud of the run that we made, the way we played down the stretch. None of the kids in our locker room had been to an NCAA tournament, and to find themselves in 2 overtime games and finding a way to win the first one against Colgate, obviously off the stick of Ashton, was tremendous, and a huge statement about our preparation in the WCHA to go to the NCAA tournament and succeed. And, in that Frozen Four game, I think it was a heck of a hockey game. And I loved the way we came out for the first 40 minutes, and Northeastern battled back and made a game of it and got a nice opportunity in the overtime. But I think we're fully capable of beating that team and beating any team in the country. And, so I'm very proud of the group. And this is a historic season for the women's program, and adding numbers to the banners around the rink is something we're really proud of. And obviously we wanted to hang a national championship banner, and we didn't do that, but I have a feeling it's coming soon.
Ashton, I'll try and burn all my questions I have for you so you can get to class here. Can you kind of reflect on this season as a player, everything that as a student athlete you had to go through? How gratifying was this season to not only get to play the games, because I feel like that was like the first step everyone was just trying to do, just to play games this season, but then to go to the Frozen Four and be so close to playing in the national championship?
Yeah, it was obviously a challenging season just with COVID and all that, and mentally it was hard too, and just all the uncertainty that came with it. And then so proud of this group though, like we put together a really good year, and being able to go to the Frozen Four was huge and a very special moment for this group, as a lot of us haven't been there, like coach said. So that was very special, and obviously not how we wanted it to end, but proud of the way we played there against Northeastern, and could have gone either way. So
what'd you learn about yourself? What did your teammates, what did you guys learn about playing on that stage? Because we look at the Badgers who won the national championship. Obviously they have the experience playing in the Frozen Four. Experience can play a big role in the postseason. I'm wondering what you guys learned from this trip that you can take into this off season, into the regular season next year and beyond.
Yeah, I think we learned a lot. Definitely we knew from the beginning that we had a special group, and then we had a lot of belief and confidence heading into that tournament that we deserved to be there, and we definitely showed that. So the group should have a lot of confidence heading into next year. I think you're muted, John.
Oh, Ashton, I guess I'll go. Knowing that you guys get to reload a little bit next year with some seniors coming back, does that change after having a couple of days to process this? Does that change how you feel at all?
No, yeah, I think having pretty much the same group coming back there to make us feel a lot better and a lot more confident, and know that we're gonna start right where we left off. So that's exciting.
Ashton, does it give you confidence that you were able to do this during a pandemic? So theoretically, hoping, everyone knock on wood, that next year we're back to normal again. Like, does that make you even more battle tested to going into next season?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said earlier, we have to face a lot mentally, and I think that makes us a lot more stronger. And definitely next year, hopefully having like more games and stuff like that will be a lot more beneficial.
I can't remember what the exercise was that Taylor said she'll appreciate doing a lot more this summer, what it was that night. Is there something now that when you either look back on last offseason or going into this offseason, and I know your offseason is going to be might be different that everyone else's, but is there something that maybe you look at now that, okay, like this is a really important exercise drill, something you need to do in the offseason to be ready to take that next step next year?
Yeah, I think last off season we did a lot of work over Zoom with each other just because of COVID, so we weren't able to be together. But now that that's kind of out of the way, this year we can spend more time together and be here for May term, and I think that will help get us going right away and leading into the summer to have good workouts and getting our bodies ready to go.
Are there some practices you want to carry over from COVID, stuff you guys were doing during the pandemic year that you'd like to do next season?
Haven't really thought about that too much, but definitely we did a lot of mental skills work during this season. So definitely want to carry that on because I thought that was really beneficial.
Ashton, have you heard from Hockey Canada? Like what's the schedule for you potentially this off season, maybe even this spring and such? Where's everything at?
Yeah, we're just waiting to hear for the team about Worlds coming up, and then yeah, we'll go from there, but still waiting to hear from them.
Are you guys still basically quarantined? Like, does your life change much at this point? Or, I'm thinking Kleiner and Hughes and that with working with Team USA, are you guys all kind of still living the quarantine life? Or are you getting a little tiny ounce of freedom here?
Yeah, coaches gave us a pretty good break off. So lots of girls went home or went out for a little vacation to get away from the rink and getting a little bit normal lifestyle again and getting away from this whole quarantine thing for a little bit. And then we'll come back in about 3 weeks or so to get back at it. So.
Ashton, you're going to hate this question, but you're a grand deflector. Okay. You always bring it back to the team. That's probably why you're a good captain. When you look back at the season, you accumulated a ton of personal awards and awards that we haven't seen in the program, or the last time they won them, their kids that suit up for Canada all the time on the highest stage. You were an All-American, you were a player of the year for the conference, you were in the Frozen Four. I mean, you were on the Frozen Four all tournament team, for crying out loud. The people who have been ahead of you that have won those, literally, like I said, they're Canadian national Olympians or national team members and Olympians. Does that mean anything to you? Can you ever process your own season and the success of you've had? I know you're not comfortable, and it's just your whole demeanor, and I love it. But can you speak, to yourself and what kind of season you think you had personally?
Yeah, obviously those are huge honors and very excited about all those awards. And actually, Jocelyn Larocque messaged me quite a bit throughout those and congratulating me. So that was pretty special. She won those very similar awards. So I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, obviously a huge honor. And yeah.
You're so humble. It's so awesome. But do you model any parts of your games after them? Or like, have you ever had conversations, with what goes into your future? Do you see yourself, do you use like those alums as resources for what may lay ahead in the next year or 4 years or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. I think Jocelyn Rock is a big one, just being from Manitoba, and then also she's a part of the national team, and so obviously communicating with her and she'll help me out quite a bit with that program.
Okay, we can probably let Ashton off if we want, because I can tell I just about did you in there with those questions. I kind of been waiting all season to do it. But, thank you, Ashton, for coming on and get to class. We know you're a smart one too, and you can roll your questions over to Coach now if you want.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Ash.
Bye.
All right, Maura, I got a deep one here for you.
Okay.
The semifinal loss to Northeastern in the Frozen Four, was that the end of a crazy run, a season in a pandemic, the start of something new, or is that maybe the midway point of this story?
Oh, I like that. I think I like the midway point, really. I mean, devastating the way it ended. Overtime, it's brutal. Sudden death overtime on the biggest stage and the biggest moment, and the way it happened, it's tough. But it didn't take me long to start reflecting on the season and where we put the program back on the map and what's to come ahead. You guys have already alluded to the fact that the majority of our players are returning, and why not, start the season, like Ashton said, right where we left off. I think once you get to the NCAA tournament, you had asked a question, what do you gain from that? I think it's getting there is so hard. First of all, it's so hard to get to the NCAA tournament, especially out of the WCHA, right? We've got to be a top 2 or top 3 in our league in order to do it. And right now it's Wisconsin, Ohio State, Minnesota, and us. So those are heavyweights if I've ever heard of any. So that's the first step, is getting there. And then once we were there, it, with the way the brackets worked out this year, it was so fun. It was just really fun to play teams that we hadn't played before, to represent our conference in a positive way, and really feel like we could win any game when we were there. So I think that feeling and knowing that you can actually win a national championship once you get to the tournament is really inspiring. And I know, as you mentioned, Taylor Anderson's interview after the game, I thought it was fantastic. But that hunger that she talked about, and it was the assault bike test that you were referring to, they'll be extra motivated. And that's the exciting part. So I think we are just getting started as well.
How much have you had a chance to reflect on what you were able to accomplish with this program this year and in year 6? I know with the format, you go right from that quarterfinal into the Frozen Four. Have you had a chance to reflect on what it means here in year 6 for you and Lou as well to get this program back to the Frozen Four?
A decent amount. We're 5 days removed from it, and you can cry over the way it ended, or you can take a 50,000 foot lens of it, and that's the one I'm taking. And it's been a lot of work from a lot of people. You mentioned Lou. She's been here for every one of those 100 wins that I've had, and the heartbreaking losses and ties throughout. And we wouldn't be where we are as a program without her. And a lot of other people behind the scenes that have done a ton of work. Our administration supports us through the roof. And yeah, once we had that success in 16-17, we wanted to have it every single year. But this was the first year that I had all of my recruits, I believe. So that's a pretty big deal. And for me, that's something I'm really proud of. And that's where we want to keep the standard now. And I don't see why it would change.
Maura, how much does success like this, getting to the Frozen Four, help you in ways, kind of outside the actual rink, like recruiting and things like that? I mean, you look at just down the hall from you guys, the men have won 2 national championships, and it feels like they're really building something. How much for the women's team here? How much do you think that a performance like this and getting to the Frozen Four helps you there?
Oh, the immediate emails and attention that we've gotten since beating Colgate is tremendous, and from recruits and people that we've been trying to hear from for a long time. So it turns a ton of heads. I think having it on ESPN was a really big deal. The women's hockey championship used to be on TV. It went away for a long time. It came back. That opened up a lot of people's eyes to what we're doing out here, because a lot of times in our league, you hear about those big 3, Big 10 schools, right? They have big football teams, big basketball teams, and sometimes we get forgotten. But the way we went out there and performed turned a ton of heads. We're hearing from a lot of people, and it makes sense to me now. The rich get richer, that sort of statement. I can see why. This is how it all happens. So it's been an immediate reaction.
Maura, how do you maintain this success? Like you mentioned, in 16-17, you get to the NCAA tournament. How big of a challenge is that? I think we've heard Scott say, down the hall, it's harder to maintain your position here than it can be to get to this position sometimes.
Yeah, next year everybody's going to be playing again, God willing, here with COVID. So add the Ivies back into the mix, and the ECAC has their 12 complement of teams. And As I mentioned, our league is always, it's really hard to get in. So we need to continue to grow and continue to develop. I think the unique part of next year and a couple of years after, the 5th year of eligibility that everybody was granted. So we are basically able to bring back a lot of people, but so are our opponents. So we'll be seeing the same names over and over for a couple more years. But that's all part of it. So it's the ability to keep the majority of our roster, I think, makes it very, very doable, but also knowing other teams are doing the same thing.
What needs to happen? I mean, you look at I think this season shows you like just the margin for error there. You guys were a couple minutes from winning a WCHA regular season title, a goal away from playing in the national championship. What needs to happen to flip games like that, besides just maybe a bounce of the puck?
Right. Yeah, no, I think being the underdog all the time, it's a good thing, but it can also be a tough thing, right? In both of those situations, we had the lead, and the favorites came back because they assume that they're going to win, and they just continue to play like they're going to win. So I'd like to see our mentality in those spots get a little tougher, I guess, in terms of continuing to push. And we weren't satisfied with a 2-0 lead over Northeastern. It's not that, but knowing that they're going to push back because they are the #1 team in the country and they are expecting to win and everybody expects them to win. So understanding that pushback and being able to manage it, those are other key things that we learned this season that make me excited moving ahead because you don't forget those moments.
I know we've talked to a few players about next season and such, but where's the roster stand right now in terms of who you have coming back and as well as who's going to come in this year or next year?
Yeah, it's a work in progress. It's everybody that's coming back, Klein's coming back and Ashton's up in the air depending on centralization. So she'll either be back next year or hopefully she'll be with Hockey Canada and come back the year after. So either way, we're in a good spot there. Our freshman class is coming. So we're welcoming all of those guys in as well. So we'll have plenty of players, lots of options, and it'll be very competitive.
That class is Holly Gruber, Gabby Kraus, Brenna Furman, Jenna Lowry, Hannah Baskin, and Mary Kate O'Brien.
You got it.
Which of that group, man, this is tough being a freshman. That 5th year of eligibility all of a sudden makes it tough as a freshman to come into the college game. But who among that group do you see making an impact and, cracking the lineup, doing like what maybe a Clara Van Weeren did and even Katie Davis late in the year this year?
Yeah, I think, Gabby Kraus out of Andover High School has had a tremendous high school career. She's a goal scorer. She was almost on my U18 team in the last U18s, whenever that was now. And yeah, she just keeps getting better and better. I'm pretty sure she had the game-winning goal in the state championship last year and maybe the game-tying goal as well. So she's exciting. I expect her to come in and make an impact. And on the back end, Brenna Furman was on my U18 team. She's out of Farmington. They're also in the state tournament. All of our Minnesota kids are, which is awesome. They're also all leaders in their programs. I'm pretty sure they're all wearing letters, all 6 of them. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, Brenna's a dynamic defender. She's got great size, has offensive abilities, but is mean and tough in front of the net. So she'll be a great bulldog. Jenna Lowry has, 200 and some odd points at Chisago Lakes as well. No one's a slouch, MK plays in a great league out at Selects Academy, but I would say Kraus and Furman were the ones that would pop.
Do you take a look at the transfer portal and the transfer market this year? That could be way more active and a lot more interesting than past seasons. I know women's hockey free agency has kind of already been here for a few seasons now, but I think of seniors at Ivy League schools who can't necessarily go back to the same school and stuff. How much do you dive in and look into that?
We've taken a look because it's very active right now. It's actually kind of crazy how many people are in and out of that thing. So it'll be a wild off season for women's hockey as well.
Is that an area where you maybe look to if like Ashton is centralized with Hockey Canada, or we see Hughes or Kleiner make a run here with Team USA? Is kind of like what you did last time when Maddie got called up and you brought in Jess. Is that maybe where you look into the transfer market? Because I'm guessing you don't have a lot of roster spots bringing in all the freshmen, right?
Right. Yeah, it would have to be for the right person and the right person only. And the situations that you brought up there with kids being centralized, that would change the outlook of things for us. So we would take a deeper look into the portal. But I'm pretty particular about who we bring into the program. So it would really have to be the right person. And some of our opponents rely pretty heavily on that portal for their recruiting. We like to do it more grassroots and with a development slant. But again, if it's the right person, you figure things out and you make room. So.
Has this been a challenge, kind of balancing the cap with that fifth year? I feel like you're learning what it's like to be a pro hockey GM, balancing the cap there. And are there any like catches or conditions that tied to when seniors are coming back for that fifth year besides staying academically eligible? I feel like it's the NCAA, so this is like too good to be true that they're just allowing them to come back, and I keep waiting for that like catch for all these kids.
I know. Well, and the ripple effect is the crazy thing. It's everybody that was on the team this year is eligible for that fifth year. So that's the kicker. It's not just like a 1-year thing that you're going to see this. The ripple effect is going to be felt for years. But the NCAA really put it on the universities and the coaches and administrators to figure it out. They basically said, yep, here you go. You get it. You get that fifth year. And then we have to actually, sort out the roster and the finances and figure out all of those things. And I would credit Laura Bellamy, my associate head coach, I should say, with really tracking our dollars and things that are coming in and going out. She's really, really good at that. So she has a lot of fun with this. It stresses me out a little more than it does her.
Is she also the fantasy hockey expert of the program there? Or?
I don't know that she's so much into the NHL as would be needed for that.
Any insight into the off season for the WCHA as a league, as the men's teams break away here and might just be a women's league going forward? Yeah,
the last I heard is they have to make a decision, I think sometime this spring, what they're doing as a league. That's all I've really heard about it, because it feels, from a coach's perspective in the women's WCHA, it feels like they are so far away from what we do. So it's really the league office and how that's all managed that the overlap, impacts us, I guess. But from my standpoint, I don't keep close tabs on it.
That's Josh's problem.
I think it's more like a Jen Flowers, Jen Flowers and her crew's problem, because they share a lot of staff members.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'll throw one more out there with the girls' state hockey tournament, and you got some players in there. Is that how much? I saw you were watching some games earlier this week. I think you showed. Is that still how you're recruiting? Like, how has recruiting been for you and Lou and Brick? Still not being able to talk to people in person. I don't even know how far the NCAA has pushed that out now.
I think
at this point, it's
definitely through the spring now.
It's kind of like one of those where you just wait for them to say when you can go out in person, as opposed to anything else. Like, how has that impacted recruiting and such?
we've done a lot of watching games. I think, a lot of teams in Minnesota and around the country have done a great job figuring out how to stream their games for us. So that's been helpful. And, honestly, with us playing and some schools not playing, it was beneficial not to be able to go out on the road. So this is the first year that we're fully staffed for every game, right? We don't have an assistant coach going somewhere. And that was helpful to our current team, and we weren't missing out where other coaches could have been there. So I thought it was pretty fair the way it worked out. And yeah, it's harder. I wouldn't say I like recruiting over web streams, but it's something, and I'll take it, and it's fun to watch. And we'll do whatever we can now in these next few months to watch these guys and gear up for our next classes.
All right, my last question, I asked this to Ashton. What's the one thing you'd like to that your team did this season during the pandemic that maybe that was unique to the pandemic that you'd like to carry over into future, whether it's off seasons?
There are really a lot of things that I liked about it, but one that comes to mind, and she sort of hit on it with the mental skills, but we did Zoom meetings every Monday for the whole year, and that started, I don't know when. But that additional connection with the players to do something different. Sometimes it was hockey specific with, video breakdown. A lot of times it was mental skills work that we did with players. And we also had a whole slew of guest speakers come and talk to our team this year. Carolyn Ouellette was the latest, Brianna Decker. We had some heavy hitters come in and talk to our girls. And I think that made a big impact on them, and it was fun and different. So that's definitely something I want to keep going.